Nityananda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Caitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Advaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Would somebody like to read?
I can read.
Thank you.
Generally, a person with philosophical mind is inquisitive to learn of the origin of the creation. He sees the night sky and naturally asks, what are the stars? How are they situated? Who lives there? And so on. All these inquiries are quite natural for a human being because his consciousness is more developed than the animal. In answer to such inquiries, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam says that the Lord is the origin of the creation. He is not only the creator, but the maintainer and annihilator as well. The manifested cosmic nature is created at a certain period by the will of the Lord. It is maintained for some time and finally it is annihilated by his will. Thus, he is the supreme will behind all activity.
So I'm not sure if you all have, ever looked up in the sky before and wondered who is the creator, who is God, where is he, which of the planets does he live in, and who is living on these other planets. So human beings, if we have such questions, it's natural for us. And then in the first canto, first verse, first chapter, Srila Vyasadeva answers that Krishna is the creator. He's the creator of all the planets. He's the maintainer. He's the destroyer. It's by Krishna's will that the material cosmic manifestation takes place for some time and it's destroyed after some time. It's all Krishna's will.
Of course, there are atheists of various categories who do not believe in the Creator, but that is due only to their poor fund of knowledge. The modern scientist creates Sputnik, and by some arrangement or the other, they are known into outer space to fly for some time under the control of a scientist far away. All the universes and the innumerable planets within them are similar to such Sputnik, and they are all controlled by the personality of Godhead.
So Srila Prabhupada is helping us explain that if someone says that there is no creator, that's just because of lack of knowledge. The knowledge is not there. It's just for that. And he's helping us understand that the scientist, he creates a spaceship and puts it out in the space. And then the spaceship is floating in the space, those satellites. And so the scientist is controlling it, no? The scientist is controlling how the satellites are orbiting in the space. So similarly, all the planets, they are orbiting under Krishna's will. Krishna is controlling them. Just if a scientist can control a small satellite, then why God cannot control all the planets and make the planets float? Isn't it? Because someone will say no, they might say no, no. But if man can do it, then God is much greater than man. So why he cannot make the planets float? He can. Make sense?
In the Vedic literature, it is said that the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is the chief among all living personalities. All living beings, from the first created being, Brahma, down to the smallest ant, are individual living entities. And above Brahma, there are many other living beings with individual capacities. The personality of Godhead himself is also living being, as much as an individual as other living beings. But the Supreme Lord is the supreme living being, with the greatest mind and the supermost inconceivable energies in great variety. If a man's mind can produce a specimen, we can very easily imagine that a mind higher than man can produce wonderful things far superior to man-made matter. A reasonable person will accept this argument, but stubborn, obstinate people will not.
So it requires a little intelligence to understand. If we can just use a little intelligence, as here again Prabhupada is saying, that if we living beings have this certain, we do have no certain powers. As we just said, the scientist has the power that he can control the satellite in space. So if we use our intelligence that we are living entities, God is much greater than us, then why God cannot make the planets float? He can. He's omnipotent. No, we say. We're saying God is omnipotent means he has these potencies, he has the energies, so he can make the planets float. So he is the creator. He's the one who is maintaining all of us. This is what Kathopanishad says, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetanam. No? That among all the living entities, all the eternals, there is one eternal who's maintaining all other eternals. Like who's maintaining us, who's making sure that we have air and wind and we have the sun and the rain. It's Krishna is making sure of that. It's not that we are ordering, okay, today the sun should come to this degrees, the rains should be for this from this time to this time, and the wind should blow at this speed. No, nothing goes on according to our desires, It's all under the control of Krishna.
Srila Vyasadeva at once accepts the Supreme Mind as the Paramasvara, Parameshwara, the Supreme Controller, and offers his respectful obeisances to him. As stated in Bhagavad Gita and all other scriptures written by Srila Vyasadeva, that Parameshwara is Sri Krishna himself. This is specifically stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself says that there is no Paratattva, Samam Bona, other than him. Therefore, the order at once worships the Paratattva, Sri Krishna, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th chant.
So Bhagavatam, here again, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that immediately the beginning of Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva is telling us who's God, what is his position. That Krishna is God, he's the supreme controller, everyone is controlled by him. The Vedas are spoken by him in the heart of Brahma. He's the one who is creating the universes, maintaining it, and highlighting it. And that's why he says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Janma Adiyasya Yata. So there is no ambiguity as to the name of God or that whether God is a person or no. Srila Vyasadeva immediately says that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he's a person from whom everything is originating. Yeah.
Unscrupulous persons go at once to the 10th chapter, especially to the 5 chapters in which Srila Vyasadeva has kindly described the Lord's Rasa dance. However, this portion of Srimad Bhagavatam is the most confidential part of that great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipable transcendental pastime in the Rasa dance and his loving dealings with the gopis. This subject matter is highly spiritual and technical. Only the liberated personalities who have gradually attained the stage of Paramhansa can transcendentally relish the worshipable Rasa dance.
Lord Chaitanya is saying, we want to quickly go to understand Krishna's pastimes and his leelas, especially his leela with the gopis. But then we don't understand it. And that's why we want to imitate, oh, why Krishna can have so many girlfriends, I can also have, oh, why Krishna. Because we don't understand Krishna's position. And that's the reason we are making such remarks. If we really want to understand Krishna's position, we have to study Bhagavatam from the first canto, first chapter, first verse. And then we read the entire Bhagavatam. His pastimes with the gopis, the rasa dance, it can be understood by the liberated people. The souls who are liberated can actually understand and can relish this pastime of Krishna, this Leela of Krishna and the gopis. Because only they can understand Krishna's real position, the position of the gopis. They also on the transcendental platform, the liberated souls, so they can understand Krishna's pastimes.
Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva gives the reader a chance to gradually develop in spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of pastimes of the Lord. Thus, at the beginning, Vyasadeva purposefully invokes the Gayatri mantra with the word Dhimahi. The Gayatri mantra is especially meant for spiritually advanced people. When one attains success in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. But in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully, one must first acquire the Brahminical qualities and become perfectly situated in the mode of goodness. From that point, one can begin to transcendently realize the Lord, His name, His fame, His qualities, etc.
The Gayatri can be chanted only by the Brahmanas. If one is initiated, gotten Brahminical initiation, they are qualified to chant the Brahmana. And one chants this Gayatri mantra successfully, properly, then one can realize his transcendental position. Can realize this relationship with Krishna. So Srila Vyasadeva is he's putting this Gayatri there, invoking the Gayatri Dhimahi, so that we can gradually, he wants us to gradually understand Krishna's position. He wants us to gradually develop our spiritual realization so that when we are coming to the 10th canto, we will be able to understand the pastimes. We will be able to relish the pastimes. It's like evolve our consciousness for us to become more and more Krishna conscious, for us to realize the spiritual knowledge more and more. So, yeah.
So, Dhimahi means gradually, is it?
No, Dhimahi is a Gayatri mantra. This guy is a Gayatri mantra. And
Yeah, I
Gayatri
know.
mantra is chanted only by the pure devotee, by the Brahmanas.
Right.
He is invoking the Gayatri mantra so that he's chanting the Gayatri. It's only when one chants the Gayatri perfectly can one understand their relationship with Krishna. So he's invoking it in the beginning with the hope that we will have our spiritual realization. It will help us to develop the spiritual realization.
So, what does Dhimahi mean? Is it gradually?
No, Dhimahi means, okay, I don't remember, we looked it up yesterday. Let's see. Dhimahi means chapter 1, canto 1, chapter 1, text 1. I do meditate upon.
Okay.
The Mahima. Yeah.
Okay.
And he is saying he meditates. This is how he begins the Bhagavatam.
Okay.
That I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna. Why? Because he's the absolute truth. He's the cause of all causes.
Okay.
So I meditate upon. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration dealing with the Swarupa form of the Lord, which is manifested by the internal potency. This potency is distinguished from the external potency, which has manifested the cosmic world within our experience. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction between the internal and the external potencies in the very first verse of the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. In that verse, he says that the internal potency is factual reality, whereas the external manifested energy is the form of material existence, temporary and illusory. No more real than a mirage in the desert. Water was Water may appear present in a mirage, but real water is somewhere else. Similarly, the manifested cosmic creation appears to be reality, but it is simply a reflection of true reality which exists in spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there are no mirages. Absolute truth is there. It is not here in the material world. Here, everything is relative truth, with one apparent truth depending upon the other. This cosmic creation results from an interaction of three modes of material nature. The temporary manifestations are so created as to present an illusion of reality to the bewildered mind of conditioned soul, who appears in so many species of life, including higher demigods like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and so on. In fact, there is no reality in the manifested world, but there appears to be reality because of the true reality in the spiritual world, where the personality of Godhead eternally resides with his transcendental paraphernalia.
So Srila Vyasadeva, he helps us understand our position, Krishna's position, and the position of this material world, material energy. Krishna's form is transcendental, Sachidananda. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. Brahmaji also says in Brahma Samhita. All the scriptures say Krishna's form is transcendental. Now, his form is transcendental. We are his parts and parcels, the Jiva Tattva. We are also spiritual, but right now we are covered by the material energy. So Krishna, we are Krishna's energy. The material world is Krishna's energy. The spiritual world is Krishna's energy. Everything is Krishna's energy. Like he himself is a person. So this is what we have to understand. Now this material world is not false. It's temporary. It's temporary. We thinking we are the body, we are inside the body. That is the truth. We thinking we are the body, that is false. We are thinking we are inside, we are the body. That is what is false. That is the illusion. But we are very much here inside the body right now. So Prabhupada is explaining that we may see a mirage in the desert. There's no water there in the desert, but we are seeing a mirage. Why? Because water exists somewhere else. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see the mirage. But because we know water exists somewhere else, we can see the mirage. Similarly, this material world, it appears to be reality because the real world exists. That's the spiritual world. Like we see a reflection, our own reflection in the mirror. Why? Because we are there. We exist. That's the reason the reflection exists. If didn't exist, the reflection wouldn't exist. So the spiritual world exists. That's the reason this material world exists. Although it's temporary, it's illusory, but it exists. So the absolute truth. Here in this material world, everything we hear is relative truth. It is relevant to a particular time or place or circumstance or person. But in the spiritual world, it's the absolute truth, not relative truth. It's eternal, never changes, never changes. So this is the point we need to understand, that the real world exists. That's the spiritual world. That's how we are inside this material world, which is a reflection of the spiritual world. So as there is form here in the material world, the form exists, the real forms, the true forms, the spiritual forms exist in spiritual world. As there is variety here in the material world, the true variety, real variety exists in the spiritual world. Is that okay? Because we may think that spiritual world there is nothing, there's only light. No, no. There is form, there's variety, there is enjoyment. All is there. There's laughter, there's speaking, there's dancing. It's there in the spiritual world. That's why we have it here in the material world. So the material world, when we think that this designation that I have, whatever it may be, or I'm a human being, that is false. This is my name. Oh, that is false. Why? Because we are all spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna. That is the illusion. Our thinking that we are the body, our thinking that this is our permanent place. That is the illusion. Yes? Any questions or comments?
All good. The chief engineer of complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction itself, but it is he only who knows every nook and corner of the construction because everything is carried out under his direction only. In other words, he knows everything about construction directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of this cosmic creation, knows very well what is happening in every nook and corner of cosmic creation. Although activities appear to be performed by someone else, in actuality, from Brahma down to this insignificant ant, no one is independent in the material creation. The hand of the Supreme Lord is everywhere. All material elements, as well as all spiritual sparks, are but emanations from Him only. Whatever is created in this material world is the result of interaction of these two energies, material and spiritual, which emanate from the Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Vasudeva.
So we think I'm independent, I can do whatever I want. But we don't understand that we are under the control of the modes of nature. And who's the master of the modes of nature? It's Krishna. So we are under Krishna's control. We don't realize it, and we think we are independent. Each and every one of us. Just like everyone is working, the chief architect, the chief constructor is there, and he's telling all the workers, you do this, you do this, you do this, and everyone is following his order to complete that building. Everyone is following the order. He's not going to do it personally. He just knows what's to be done, how it's to be done. He's managing the whole thing. That is Krishna. Everything is happening under his will, under his direction. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that everything is happening under my supervision. So he knows. So even if we become Lord Brahma, we are still not independent. We are still following Krishna's orders. Like a director of the movie, he tells each and every actor what you do. how to act, what to do. Then he's directing them. This is what's happening. We are all under that. We are all instruments in the hand of Krishna. Yeah, all instruments. But he's so expert, that he puts certain group of people together because they are supposed to share a common experience. They'll act in a certain way under the control of the modes of nature. So it's all Krishna's will. So we are parts and parcels of Krishna, the material elements, earth, water, air, fire. That's also Krishna's energy. Whatever we are seeing in this material world is but a combination of the material and the spiritual energy. This is what's happening here in the material world. Combination of the spirit soul and the material energy. And the origin is Krishna. Belongs to Krishna. Both of them, the material energy and the spirit souls. Is that okay?
Yes. A living entity known as chemist can manufacture water in the laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen. But in reality, the living entity works under the direction of Supreme Lord, and all the materials he uses are supplied by the Lord. Thus, the Lord knows everything directly and indirectly, in minute detail, and he is fully independent as well. He can be compared to a gold mine, and the objects within the cosmic creation can be compared to ornaments made from that gold, such as gold rings, gold necklaces, and so on. The gold ring and necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively, the gold in the mine and the gold in the ring or the necklace are qualitative are different. The complete philosophy of the Absolute Truth therefore centers about the fact that the Absolute Truth is simultaneously one with and different from His creation. Nothing is absolutely equal to the Absolute Truth, but at the same time, nothing is independent of the Absolute Truth.
So Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. This is what Lord Chaitanya's specific contribution is to help us our relationship with God. We are simultaneously one with God. Like Krishna is Sachidananda, we are Sachidananda. We are his part and parcel. But we are different. We are different how? We are minute, Krishna is unlimited. We are the soul, Krishna is the super soul. We are Brahman, Krishna is the Para-Brahman. That's the difference. The size is different. Quality is the same. Just as the gold in the gold mine and all the gold jewelry, the gold is the same, but quantity of gold is different. So this is what Lord Chaitanya is explaining. Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Simultaneously one with Krishna and different from Krishna. Like the sun and sunshine. Sun and sunshine. Sunshine also has heat and light. The sun planet also has heat and light. But the heat and light in the sun planet is completely different than the heat and light of one molecule of sunshine. So simultaneously one, yet different. Do you want to read one more or you want to stop here?
Uh, Up to you.
I'm sorry.
Up to you. You want to?
You can stop here, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.